Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Gail Reams. She is an expert independent college admissions counselor, CEO, and founder of Reams College Consulting. Welcome to the show, Gail.
Thank you, AJ. Happy to be here.
You are welcome to the show, Gail. You are welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe, a lot of students across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk about. We'll be talking about how one can master college admissions, especially US college admissions. And you are a veteran of that, Gail. So tell us a bit about your background so that people know who they are listening to, because you are going to give some very, very good tips and strategies on, U.S. college admissions. So help us understand about your background.
Sure. Thank you, AJ. My background is that I went to Duke University, got a degree in English there, and then went on and got my master's degree from UNCG, taught high school and college English. And then a good friend of mine 11 years ago, Pam Proctor, who actually was an editor for Parade magazine, was becoming overwhelmed with all the students that she had in college admissions. So she said to me, Gail, I would like to take the freshmen and sophomores and then turn the juniors and seniors over to you to help them with this admissions process. So I was delighted and really have found my niche in this business.
Wonderful, wonderful, Gail. So now, in terms of US college admissions in today's time, how easy or how difficult it is, especially for people, say, coming from other parts of the world, especially for people going from India. A lot of students already are in the US, but I have only a little knowledge. More I will understand from you. Is it very easy nowadays, or is it very costly nowadays? Can a simple student think of studying in the US, even if he or she doesn't have enough money? How does that work?
Yes, good question. By the way, I do deal with a lot of international students. I've had students from the UK and Australia and various parts of the world, as well as students in the United States. So I'm familiar with both processes. Being admitted into a college now is a difficult procedure, and somebody really needs someone to hold their hand and help them with all of these details that are involved in being admitted into the college. The first thing that a student needs to do is go on what's called the college app. College application, you put in your name, a username, email, answer a long list of questions that will then be sent to all the colleges. Write a personal essay, which is 650 words, on one of 7 topics that the Common App gives you, and then be able to answer questions about each individual college that you're applying to. And you can apply to up to 20 colleges. And then you get teacher and counselors to write in recommendations for you. And you fill out a list of extracurricular activities that you've done. You write a powerful resume. So as you can tell, AJ, there is a lot involved in this process.
Wonderful. So you talk about this common app. So one app, you apply for different colleges at the same time. Am I right?
That's right. Back in the olden days, we had to send in individual applications to colleges. But now it's a lot easier for these students because they just answer the questions and then their answers go to all the colleges.
Okay. Okay. Either so all the colleges means all the colleges in the US, or you select certain colleges, because you may not want me interested in all the colleges. How does that work?
Yes, you're allowed on an app to apply to up to 20 colleges, which is usually enough because you're going to have a balance of what are called reach, match, and safety schools. A reach school is one that might be difficult for you to get in. It might be one that your GPA, your grade point average, and your test scores aren't quite as high as the majority of students who go there. So that would be a reach college. A match school is one that your scores and then safety schools are those that you rank like in the upper 25% of schools on your GPA or your testing. And the chances of your getting accepted at that school are excellent. So we always want to have one or two safety schools for each student who applies. We don't want the day to come, usually April 1st, that student is not going to get any acceptances.
Right, right, Gail. So, are there any other ways one can apply to colleges? Is it also possible that people approach individual colleges, because there you can have a better rapport? Individual colleges, the headmasters or principals, and then your dean, whoever it is, and then you are able to better convince them about your candidature.
Good question. The Common App is used for about 90% of the applications that are sent in. The other 10%, the student can go to some university websites and apply on that website. Universities in California have their own system, and Texas is called Texas Access. They have their own system. And some individual colleges like MIT require you actually to go to their website to be able to apply.
Right, right, Gail. Now, in terms of preparing for a U.S. college admission, children want, a student wants, their parents want, but then the preparation is something, someone starts early, someone starts only in the nick of time. So, what is the best time to get started with this sort of
Absolutely.
thing?
Oh, yes. Great question. I like to get students the freshman year. Why? Well, because I can help them set up their curriculum for the 4 years. For instance, if the kid wants to go to Harvard and he waits until his junior year and he hasn't had 4 years of language, which is a requirement at Harvard, he's not going to get in. The other reason is that he gets to take the PSET and prep for it. And that's the only way that he can get a National Merit Scholarship, which conceivably could give him tuition free for 4 years at the school of his choice. So the earlier you start, the better. The better we can help you figure out what your unique talent is, and we can present that to the college and have them drooling over you because you've developed that over a 4 year period. But I have to say, unfortunately, the majority of students do wait to the summer before their senior year. So we have to work all the way through the summer, and this has to be a timely thing. I meet once a week with the parent and the student if the parent wants to be involved. Sometimes it's just a student with a list of tasks. Okay, this week you're going to fill out the questions for the Common App. Next week it might be writing the resume. The next week, it's going to be visiting schools. And we go through so that by the time the deadline comes, and that could be for early decision, which can be as early as October the 1st, or early action, often October the 15th, the student gets everything into the college. I will say, AJ, I've never had a student that has not met every deadline for every college to which he applied.
Wonderful, wonderful. So now, in terms of preparations people have, is it that they also have a lot of money? What is the scope for students who do not have money, say from rural areas or from simple families?
Well, that's another good reason to get started early. Do you know that they offer scholarships even to freshmen and sophomores? And a lot of research needs to be done, hours and hours and hours of research to find scholarships. And often they're the scholarships that are little known ones. So that's where I can help, as well as a lot of parents help with this and get thousands of dollars. I had one student that was actually given Horatio Alger Award because he came from an impoverished background and wrote an incredible essay, received a 4-year, $16,000 per year tuition scholarship to the school of his choice, the University of Oregon, where he majored in forestry. So his dream came true, and I love it when I can help these students to have their dream come true.
Absolutely. Now, I know this question keeps on getting asked at many places, but I want to understand your understanding on this. What is it? I know colleges look for good students, but what is this good student about? Is this about marks? Is this about some unique personality? Or is it about something else in the student that these colleges look for?
All right, there are lots of variables involved. Number one, of course, is grades, your GPA average. Up there used to be, before the pandemic, we had the test scores that were mandatory, the SAT, ACT. Since that time, a lot of schools have gone test optional. Consequently, other variables are involved. How well has a student done his personal statement and his supplemental essays? Does he have good recommendations? Does he have strong extracurricular activities? A powerful resume? If the student has had leadership positions or has had a work position or an internship or is taking dual enrollment or AP classes or IB classes, as you can see, there are an incredible number of variables involved. But you hit on a question about uniqueness. This is extremely important because if a student has some talent that nobody else has, for instance, we had a student that kind of dabbled in photography his freshman year, and he got on the school newspaper, published a few pictures in the paper. Then the local newspaper found out about him, published his pictures, and guess what happened, AJ? AP got all of these. He went national. And over that 4-year period, he was published in papers all over the United States, and the schools were drooling to get him. So if a student can get a name for himself for something that he's done that is very unique. We've had students that have founded clubs in schools that have never been there before. We have students that have gotten national awards that have made incredible scientific contributions. So, that's what we're looking for.
Right, Gail. Earlier, there used to be stories, that uh, colleges that they thought were great, but very less known, but still they thought they were great, they were not so great. Some of the colleges people already know that those have names, but you may not get through them. So, and there are other colleges also which may be very good, but you don't know about them that well. And many of them are also marketing the good ones also, the not so good ones also. For a student, if you are getting into a known one, it is understood, okay, here I know. But what about the other colleges that are, that are there for you, but you may not have full knowledge, either it is good or bad. How do I, sitting in India, evaluate whether that college is good for me or not, especially when there is so much of marketing going on during the time of admission?
Excellent question, because there are colleges out there that are not as well known that are excellent. So what I advise students, the most important thing that students are going to do is making up that college list. And how do they know which colleges to put on there? Well, they have some idea. Maybe an uncle has gone to one, or their parents have, or it's in their geographical neighborhood, or as you say, there's been a lot of publicity about that school, but they need to do a lot of research. I have come up with an Excel file that I give to all my students, and together we collect research. We find out what that student is going to major in. Say they're pre med and they want one of the top colleges that has to do with medicine. We do a thorough search and find out which colleges would be best for that student for pre-med, and there may be some that are unknown. Suppose a student doesn't have scores that are extremely high or grades that are extremely high. The other thing we look for is acceptance rate. The University of Kentucky has a 96% acceptance rate, and it's a good school. So if a student is concerned, am I going to be accepted anywhere, but I want to get into a good school, then look at what those acceptance rates are. And thank heavens we have the internet and we can do the research that we need to do to find out what these schools are. There are other schools that are looking for certain people with your talent. I had one actually teacher at a school that taught band and orchestra, and he had no brass players. They all graduated as seniors. So he went to the admissions officers and he said, look, go through your pile again, find students that have a talent in this area. So they went to their maybe pile and they found several students that they could accept. Maybe their scores weren't quite as high as some others, but they knew that they needed to keep that orchestra and band going, so those players were accepted. So there's a lot that goes into this acceptance process.
A lot of intelligence, absolutely. So now, yeah, you were saying something.
Now, I know you're in India, so I know you're concerned about international students too.
Yeah, yeah.
And so there are a lot of steps that international students need to take. I've created 5 hours of modules to train students on what to do. And 3 of these are specifically for international students to find schools that are popular for international students, where a majority of them go, because a lot of international students like to go to schools where other international students are. And then they need to know about passports and about TOEFL and everything that needs to be done to be accepted at U.S. schools. So we go over all of that so that they feel secure and have a good chance of getting accepted at U.S. schools.
Absolutely, Gail. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Now, I asked, my earlier question was about, how do you know which college is good and which is not so good if one is trying. How about consultants? There are many, many consultants all across, even in India, outside. How do you know who is the right consultant? Not everyone will come across you, Gail. So how do you evaluate even someone who is guiding you? How does that happen?
So we're talking about evaluation here. We're talking about 2 kinds of evaluation. One is the student evaluating the colleges, and the other is the colleges evaluating the students, right? So as
Right.
far as students evaluating the college, I advise them to check, first of all, go on virtual tours of every single college. And of course, this is going to be imperative for international students because they're not going to be able to visit all the United States schools. Any visitations you can do in person, obviously, are the best. But virtual students are good too. Find out who the regional representatives are for that college. Make a list of questions for every college to which you're applying and find out the answers to those questions. If you can, interview people that have gone to that college. Write the college if you're an international student. Find out from that rep who are some people, maybe even my area. Say you're living in India, New Delhi. There may be some graduates that are in New Delhi that you could call and interview and talk with about that school. So the more research that you can do on your own to find out the information that you need, the better decision you're going to be able to make.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, one last question I wanted to understand. uh, Gail, is that in this change situation now, uh, a lot of India is in the news itself. A lot of people are coming towards India. India has a good education system, though not everyone gets a chance in specialized fields like, especially in medical education. A lot of time now people are saying we are not getting jobs out of studying in the US colleges or even in Canada or other places after spending so much of money. How would you like to address this aspect of thought process? Is there they should look beyond what they are getting in terms of jobs, or in terms of uh, looking at the whole, understanding the whole US system, looking at the world, understanding the world outlook changes. Help us understand how should people look at in these changed circumstances when jobs might be not so easy to come by, even if you have completed education from a good school.
Well, you brought up a field that is very, very competitive, the medical school. And if you look at the stats, you're going to see 3 to 5% of the people that apply to these top medical schools, like Johns Hopkins or Duke University, get accepted. So what are the other 95, 97% of students going to do that don't get in the medical schools? Well, they're going to have to choose another medical school, aren't they, and hope that they get in. And not everybody becomes a doctor that wants to become a doctor, and then they have to choose another field, which, happens in life. You don't always get accepted where you want to. Then there's a question. Suppose you go all the way through medical school, you are accepted, and then you go out in the job world. Well, you may not be able to get that top job that you want right away. Maybe you wanted to go to, one of the top hospitals in the country, Mayo Clinic, and there weren't any jobs available. You might have to start in a rural area in North Carolina, maybe in the Appalachian Mountains, and treat, people there, build up your medical career, get wonderful recommendations from a hospital where you're working there, and then be transferred. And that happens a lot in the medical field, that people start in one place and then they transfer to another place.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is much to learn about all these things from you, Gail, and I'm sure a lot of people would like to connect with you, understand more about these things, and if they want to get your services. So, what is the best way for them to do so?
Yes, my website is Reams, Reams, reamscollegeconsulting.com. And just hop on there, fill out the form with your name, email, and telephone number. I will be in touch with you, and I will be delighted to be able to help you with this college application process. For those who have listened to this podcast, I have a special offer for you, because we talked about how important that college list is. And so that's one of these videos that I have made that will help you make your college list. And I will send that to you free, no charge, and you will be able to get started on this process.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Been my pleasure. Thank you, AJ.